Hello everyone, Sertab here. It has been a while since our last video, and today I will talk about a Google Colab version of my FPL solver. So as you might know, we have been using Python and installing the solver to our computer and also writing our optimization codes and running it on our own hardware. So I have been working on actually reducing the friction for new people to try the optimization solver. And I have learned that you can actually write Python codes on Google Colab and run my solver on Google's hardware. And the way we will follow is we will download the solver, optimization solver itself. We will then download my optimization codes from GitHub. And then finally, we will run it on Google Colab notebook, and you will see that you will be able to run optimization solver for your FPL team without actually downloading anything. I will put the link to the notebook under the description of this video. All you need to do is just click on the link, open Google Colab, and it will open Google Colab, and it will give you also a warning. You can check the source code on GitHub. I will also link it so that you can be sure that you are running something safe. And you will just follow the instructions, and I will do it today with you on a separate Google account so that you will see the steps that I'm going through. So let's get started. So when you open the link, this is the page you will arrive. So it will be collab.research.google.com with my gist ID. So as you see at the top, it gives you some brief information. I will try to keep these notes up to date. So whenever I actually make any changes on this GitHub gist, you will be able to see the updated version here. So let's go over these notes very quickly. It says you can click runtime and select disconnect and delete runtime to clear all files if you are not running the solver for the first time and having issues. So as it is very clear, but just to show you, under runtime here, it says disconnect and delete runtime. You might need to use it because we will create some files here. We will download the solver, we will download your team information, and for some reason, if you are getting an error and you are not able to solve it, just delete everything, and this is the way to delete everything and have a fresh start. It also says you need to run both blue colored and red colored cells if you're running the solver for the first time. If you already have the solver, you can run red colored cells only. And as usual, if you have any questions, feedbacks, comments, just send me a direct message on Twitter. And my Twitter is @sartalbilal. So let's get started. So the first cell says run this cell to download the optimization solver heights. If you have been following the tutorials, you might remember that we have using CBC as our optimization solver. Heights is another open source optimization solver which is faster than CBC. That's why I am using that one. You don't need to open the cell over here. You just need to click this triangle here. But just to show you what's going on under this node, you can actually open it and see what's happening. As you see here, you are just downloading the solver from its source and then extracting it to a directory called solver. So you don't need to open it, just click here and then it will give you this warning. This notebook was not ordered by Google and it's being loaded from GitHub. I'm using GitHub because I can keep these codes up to date for you. Click run anyway. Once you did, you will see that it will say connected right now, and then it actually initializing your workspace under Google's hardware. So as you see, this cell worked correctly. We have the check mark here. It also shows you how long it took. It says downloading solver done, and then it gives you a date prompt and the time. As you see, it's a long string. What happened is it downloaded the solver. So we will talk about these files in a minute, but you can open it and you can see that it downloaded this high solver, and then under solver it extracted it. So let's close it for now, and it says run this cell to download or update FPL optimization codes. So this is essentially the GitHub repository we have been using in this tutorial. So we have already our we already have our multi-period optimization codes. So if you want, if you have your own custom optimization codes, and if it is uploaded to GitHub, you can actually, again, edit and then call your own. But for this tutorial, you will see that I'm just using my repository and then downloading the FPL optimization tools. Again, you don't need to open this, just click on this. It will run it. In some cases, these can take longer than usual because we are also downloading the additional software we need to, well, essentially to clone the repository. As you see, it's cloning the repository and it says done. We also have the check mark and it says enter your team ID below and run this cell. So if as you see, so we already have my team ID over here, and I will click run. So what it does essentially is giving you the URL you need to visit. So it's always the same structure. It is fantasy.premierleague.com/API/my-team/ your team ID and then another slash. And you can get your team ID from your rank history page under FPL. So if you visit it from your PC, if you go to your rank history, like game week rank history or season rank history, in the URL you will see your team ID. So when I click this one, I will get this authentication credentials were not provided because I am not logged into FPL. Let's log in very quickly. So okay, now I have logged into my account. I can see my team. So you can come back to this tab and you can reload it and you will see this kind of a string. So if I click raw here, this is probably how you will see it if you don't have an add-on on your browser. But this raw string is essentially what you need. So this tells you which player you own, what was your purchase price, what's your current selling price, and all that information, like which chips you already still have. This kind of information is what we need for the solver. So just get this, copy, because it was saying that now visit this address and copy the content. So it says run this cell first, and once you see the text box, paste the content. So we will run this. It's installing the widget tool we need, and it says put my team URL content here. Click on it, Control V, and we are good. So it says run this cell to parse your team information you pasted. So we pasted the text here, but we will convert it to the version that Python will understand. Just run it and it's instant. It says done. Run this cell to create the data folder. Then we will follow the directions. Let's click on this. It says click files on the left. So this is the link you need to click on files, and you will see that we have a data directory. If you don't see it, right click on a white space and click refresh, and then it will refresh all the directories for you. Click data, and as you see, it's currently empty. I will right click on it, say upload, and here I have my FPL. You are not able to see it, but essentially I'm uploading my FPL review.csv file, and it's just warning me, ensure that your files are saved elsewhere because this is a temporary runtime. So I will say okay. Now that we see it, and it should be named FPL review.csv. So in some cases, if you download your file from FPL review, let's come here. If you click this download data CSV, sometimes the name is FPL review _167, so it has the timestamp. So just rename it if you want, and then make sure that it is FPL review.csv. Similarly, you can use Mikhail Tokmam's data or the FPL Kiwi's data. So if you have been using the solver before, it's the same way, and there is actually a parameter that we will update if you have a different name. But anyway, let's continue with these descriptions. So it says run this cell to import solver and redirect log. So we need this step so that when we are solving the problem, we will able to see how the solution is progressing. So if you have been using the solver you might be familiar with our options. So this is the regular settings essentially. So it has the optimization horizon, how many game weeks you will plan, 5 for example. What's the value of a free transfer? So because we are rolling a free transfer, we say it is around 1.5 points. How much you value having some amount in the bank. And so this is another optional parameter. It says no transfer lasts this many game weeks. So if we are solving for 5 game weeks, since you don't see the horizon beyond it, you don't want to optimize your transfers last game week. So it says don't buy or sell anyone in game week, well, in the 4th and 5th game week in my horizon. And so this is our expected min lower bound. So what this does, it removes all the players whose expected minutes is below this many minutes. So I'm saying here is that if it is below 20, just discard them. 300 is our time limit, because in some cases optimization takes long, so you don't want to wait. Maybe you don't want to wait too long. So we have 300 seconds, 5 minutes essentially. So if you want to use a chip, you can give it here. If you want to ban a player or lock a player, you can give them here. I will also talk about it in a minute. Chip limits is based on, well, which chips you are using if you want to use it. And if you give it 0, it says that, okay, this person has no chips or don't want to use any chips in the horizon, so I won't do it. So be careful about giving like actually how many chips you have. If you say I have 1 bench boost and I have 1 triple captain, for example, then optimization actually will take much longer, because it will try to optimize those chips too. And iteration 1 says how many solutions I want to generate. So I will just keep it 1 here so that it will be easy for us to get the result. And here we have data path. So as you see, I'm saying that under data here, fbrreview.csv is the name of my data. So if the name of your data is different, this is the place you can actually edit. So I do not recommend editing this, because it might get confusing, or if you have any issues later, it might be difficult to debug. So I suggest that you keep this part as is, but if you know what you are doing, you can edit it. And solver path, again, this is something that you shouldn't change, but under solver bin, you see that we have the highs file here. So this is the actual optimization solver, and this is essentially it. So we will prep data, and then we will call sol multi-period FPL with the options, and then once it's done, we will see the done word on the screen. So it says edit settings inside this cell and run it to start the solver. I will click on this, and then immediately you will see that it's started. So there were 745 players in total. We dropped significant portion of them, so 481 is the number of players that we are considering to transfer after dropping them based on their expected minutes. And as you see, it exported the problem now that the optimization solver has started. And in here, you see that the gap says infinity, best solution is infinity. So this is the current solution. So how much solution has progressed. So this is in minus because we are minimizing the negative of the objective, but in simpler terms, so this value is our objective score that we are trying to minimize, and 221 is the best solution we have. We also have a theoretical upper bound, 247 here. So we know that there's no way that it will beyond 247. So optimization solver is essentially trying to reduce this gap. As you see, it was 13.65%, and then we are getting closer. Now it found a solution at objective 246. It's about to end, actually. As you see, 47 seconds has passed so far. You can also see that it's using resources. And finally, once you get the check mark, you know that it's done. And solving report says status optimal, and then it gives us a bunch of information about the solution. So for example, bound was 246.508 at termination. So it says that actually gap is 0%. So this is a proven optimal. There is no better solution possible for this team, for example. And if I move a little bit down here, you can also see the cumulative expected points. So this is just the sum of all the expected value without decay, and it says done, as we have mentioned before. So we have the solution right now. So that was all, and when I click on this, you will get a nice display of the solutions. So it will show you essentially which players you are selling and which players you are buying. If you select an iteration more than one, you will see multiple solutions here. So it will say that in iteration 1, this was the best solution, but in the second iteration, it will probably suggest you to sell and buy another player with a lower score. So it will be always from best solution to worst, but they are still close suboptimal solutions. And under solution details, for every solution, you will see the details. For example, in this case, it tells me to sell my bench goalkeeper and buy Pickford in my first game week, in game week 24. But then you can also see in game week 25, it tells me to sell 3 players and buy another 3 players. And then in game week 26, again, there's another transfer. 27 and 28, we said that we don't want to plan any transfer, so that those are empty. You can see the projected points, you can see all the details, which players are on your bench, which players are playing. For example, I have seen this solution. I said that, okay, I want to ban, let's say, Alexander-Arnold because I don't want to buy him. So you can come back here actually, and you can put his ID to the banned list, and let's see if we are going to change anything else. And suppose I also don't want to sell my bench goalkeeper, and I will put it here, 518, and I will run this again. So again, this will take around the same time unless you change the horizon, if you use a smaller number of game weeks. And as you see, it initialized the model. You can also find the model under this TMP directory here. So this is not something that you want to, edit directly, but you can see that it's exporting this problem and then feeding it into the optimization solver. So since I have banned a player and I decided to lock a player down, so you will see that the best bound will change, and also best solution, how it progresses, will change. In this case, it started from 20%, and then it will eventually go all the way down to 0%. So if you are using a time limit, and if you are solving for, let's say, wildcard or free hit, for example, there is a chance that gap will never reach to 0% because there are too many possibilities. So in that case, you will see that instead of optimal as the solution status, you will see time limit. If that's the case, either increase the time limit or just know that this whatever gap you have at the end is the maximum percentage away from the optimal. So if it says that 0.05%, for example, you know that you are 0.05% away from optimal in the worst case. It doesn't mean that you don't have the optimal solution. It just means that we couldn't actually prove it. If you don't want to deal with the technical details, simply, if this is not 0% at termination, just try to increase the solution time, and if it says time limit here. So again, now we have the cumulative points. Our solution is a little bit worse. I think it was 246 in the first solve. It is 242 this time around. And it tells me to... Oh, okay, we didn't. Okay, let's run this again. Okay, it tells me to sell Ake this time and buy James. And that's the best solution it's giving us. And as you can see, we have the details, so it's doing that, and then instead of Alexander-Arnold, it buys Ellison as the goalkeeper, it sells Ederson. So we know that solvers love premium goalkeepers. So, and then sells Andreas and buys McAllister, and then you can see all the details. So as the final step, let's use an iteration, maybe 3, so that we will get top 3 solutions. So again, this will take longer, so I will just run it. Maybe I will skip it in the video, so you don't want to suffer with me, but you can just click on the cell, and then it is just rerunning everything, and in the first solve we will get the best solution, and then we will cut off that solution and get the second best and then the third best option. While this is running, I would like to tell you about the data and results directory here. As you see, once we solve the problem, we are getting these regular and then with the timestamp files. So these are actually CSV files that you can download and see solution in detail. So you can download it, and actually this is how it looks too. So for example, for game week 24, it tells you which players you have in your team, and if it is someone you sold, you will see that transfer out column here will show one. Actually, let me expand this a little bit so that it will be easier for you to see. So here, oops, transfer out, for example, this player. Let's find out who that player was. So as you see, it was Ake. In game week 24, we sold Ake and we bought James, so that you can see James is in the lineup, for example, in the squad lineup. So this is for even further post-processing if you are interested. So this file also tells you about what was the multiplier, whether it was a regular lineup player or if it was your captain, and what was the expected value you are getting from this player. So you can also see what was the bench orders and all those stuff. So you can use these files to generate visualizations, for example. So let's go back to here. As you see, the solver ran. So you can remember that we started from 20%, just like the last time. So it essentially found the same solution in the first solve. And then it's solving it again, as you see here. So this time it is starting from a different point. And that's why our gap is different. The progress is totally different, because we said that we don't want Pickford anymore. Or if you are going to transfer Pickford, you need to also transfer someone else with him, because we are forcing now solver to generate us a different solution. So it is giving us the best solution after the first one. And finally, this is our third solve. Again, now it will start from a totally different point, and then our bound and solution progress will be different. As you see, we are getting closer, 14% gap now after 40 seconds has passed. The previous optimal was 241.93, so it won't be better than this, so we know that it will be worse. It is 241.89 now. Oh, also notice that it actually solved the second one, not the 0% gap, but 0.007. So this is what I was talking about, and there's a tolerance solution in high solver. So if you want to make sure that you are getting the best solution with 0% gap, you can actually even give that. But anyway, so our solution is here. As you see, we have a very, very tiny gap, but it was able to solve the problem to optimality, and then it says done. So I will just run this cell again to see the updated solutions. Here you go. So these are my top 3 moves suggested by the solver. It tells me to sell Ake and then buy James as my top option. So you can see the score over here. And then if I don't do it, my second best option is to sell Mitrovic and buy Darwin. It's slightly lower score, but still very significant. And then my third best option is to sell Ederson and buy Ellison. So again, so you can check these players. For example, you can ban, or you can say that, okay, I want to keep this player for some reason. I want to lock that player, or I want to ban this player, I don't want to buy James, for example, I can add his ID over here to my banned list, so that once you rerun it, you will get a different solution. And that's essentially it. So I hope this helped you to understand how the Google Colab version of the solver works. And when you're done, it's optional, but you can click runtime and then you can click disconnect and delete runtime. It will delete everything you have here. If you, it's not, so you can also save this file and then reuse it. You can say that save a copy in your drive, or just save it differently for your own purposes. If you do it, your files will probably might stay. So the first cell, you don't really need it if you have the solver directory already once you visit it. Just to be on the safe side, just click on it and it actually checks if you have the solver directory, and if you have, then it skips this step so that it will be easier for you. And essentially same with some of the other cells too. But this is essentially it. Be careful that under data we have uploaded FPL review.csv, and every game week once you are solving it, you need to update this file to make sure that you have the updated expected value, and you also need to update this string over here so that you are giving the latest information about your team. And just note that this thing already knows how much you have in the bank, and it already knows how much free transfers you have. So even if you have made any transfers this game week already, so once you copy and paste your information here, solver will know that you don't have, for example, free transfers left. This is it, and I hope this helps you. If you have any questions, just let me know, and have a great day, and see you next time.